So we're going live anytime. We made it. We're live. All right. It feels good to be live.
Yeah, we'll wait a minute. We'll have some good clips for video, that's for sure, for YouTube.
I agree. And let me just say, and it should send everybody a little, people are coming in. Hey, Benita, look at Cheryl Golden. Good to see people coming in here. Sam Norton. You always love to see Sam Norton come in the room, right? We love Sam Norton. John Quinn. So I have to say just something. Now, you know me, I always like to talk about something when we get started, is that what a special weekend for us, because, we do this live, but we have to see each other on Zoom. You live on the Eastern Shore. I live upstate, upwind up here in Northern Virginia in Annandale. And we don't get to see each other in person that much. But this weekend, everybody, it was just a treat, first of all, to see you in person on Friday, in person today. And
You
then
saw me on Thursday too.
I saw you on Thursday too. Look at that. We saw each other. And, that doesn't happen too often. It was like we were neighbors a little bit. So that was really
So podcast audience growth says hello. So hello to
hello.
you.
Oh,
Hello to
they're making
everybody.
us
Hello, John Quinn. I'm happy to see you here. Wilhelmina, happy to see you. Janice, Cheryl, everybody. We're glad that you are here.
I'm going to send a little note. So let's get started. I'll send a little note to our people to make sure everybody knows we're going live. But it was fun. Let's talk about what we did this weekend. We saw you Thursday, which was cool because we went to the conference.
Well, so we were at the National Organization of Women's Conference this weekend, and we had an opportunity to do something really special. For those of you who join us on the Friday Power Lunch, we had a chance to do the Friday Power Lunch live for the women of now. And it was really, really cool. We had the Secretary of the Commonwealth join us, and we also had Delegate Del McClure join us. And as a very special treat, we also had Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan join us. And so we had this wonderful conversation with the full room to talk about what it was like to be a woman in leadership in this time and space. So that's what I'll say about the weekend. And that happened on Saturday. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was. And so it was funny because, 60th anniversary, long time. Nancy Pelosi was there, a lot of big shots. Carol Maloney was there. So a lot of the champions of the Equal Rights Amendment and, a lot of cranky women walking around. I got this great T-shirt. See it? This is what the resistance looks like. So there's a lot of swag, a lot of that. But to go live with our show and to see the Secretary of the Commonwealth, Candy King, nice. We brought some big shots in, and the Adele McClure. We talked a lot about women leading and how they would, how they were addressing these issues. And it was really great to hear from them. But the thought that Jennifer McClellan, the Congresswoman, just decided to join our breakout and join our show. And then before we knew it, you put that seat out for her and she joined and at the table. And one of my favorite takeaways from that was when people in the audience were asking the questions about leadership and the importance of how we listen to, voters and people. But they talked about getting a seat at the table as women, right? But they said, but we need to bring that table out to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean to you when you bring that table out to the community, But you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am banning someone from commenting. How about that?
Oh, I love that. You work in the controls. Who was it? Was it a bad person?
Yeah.
All you are white racist. Oh, yeah. The thrill is gone. Where did we get that guy?
I don't know.
I love it.
I don't know, but we have great conversations here. So if you want to have a great conversation, that's what we do.
Yeah,
But,
I love it.
but yeah, so it was a really good weekend. I did not get a chance to see Nancy Pelosi. I got to hear her. I didn't get a picture or anything like that. But when she talked about leadership in women, no one can discount the power that she had and the work that she did and what she got done. And, still for me, one of the most powerful moments for me is when she was in that discussion with Trump and his first administration.
Oh I know.
And she did not back down, and she put those glasses on and whipped that stuff and whipped on out the door. And I was like, okay, that's how we're supposed to do this. So that was it was pretty good. I mean, for them to be able to have someone of that stature at their conference, to be able to talk to people and say, you have power to make the changes that need to happen in this country. We all do.
No, and like again, I'll just say, just being together and seeing you, it just shows you like how important it is to get together. And one of our big things when we talk about the podcast, I think the what we're really good as trying to figure out when we're trying to make change and do this kind of work, how important community is, right? And how powerful it can be. And that when we didn't even realize when we made this podcast, so we really were, because it was during COVID, creating a community, meeting every week because we were isolated from each other. And then, Zoom became a thing. And we just didn't sit still on it. We just decided, man, how are we going to use this? And I know as we head into the midterms and we're thinking about how do we contact voters, how do we talk about them? Earlier, you were talking about that most people, most Americans, because of the way they digest the news or not, really don't understand a lot that's going on. We were talking about the recent Supreme Court decisions. Let's tackle that a little bit.
Yeah. So, you know, uh, this weekend we've had multiple conversations with different people, and folks will say, "What's on your mind? What have you been thinking about?" And I say, "Well, you know what? The Supreme Court decisions, given Trump the ability to terminate temporary protective status, has really been something that has been on my mind.
Yeah.
The community that I live in, I know people who work very, very closely with our Haitian community, and they are devastated
That's
about
scared out of their
about this.
mind,
Yes,
right?
they are. They are devastated. I am not a legal person by any stretch of the imagination, but what I can do is tell you what I feel about what I see and hear. And because we are consumers of the news, like I tell my family sometimes, I listen so you don't have to, so that I can come back and, to the best of my ability, explain to you what decisions or what things have happened, and then how I digest them and how I want to be able to talk about them. And so when I think about this temporary status being taken away from over 300,000 Haitians.
350 Haitians and 6,000 Syrians.
Yes, you have to imagine what that looks and feels like. And not only so the status is taken away, but also their work permits. So
Yeah.
that means that they don't have the ability to work. So if you are in a community where healthcare is huge and you have lots of people who are working there, whether it's in nursing homes, in hospitals, especially in rural places, you will understand what this decision feels like should it go through and you see a mass deportation of this many people. But what this Supreme Court decision says to me, like many other decisions that they've made, this one
Right.
cuts close and different.
Yes.
If you were to think about the worst Supreme Court decision that most people, scholars will say this is the worst decision ever, it was the Dred Scott decision.
Mm.
And, that was a decision that said Black people, no matter where you were, you were not going to be considered to be a full human, and you were
Right.
still going to be enslaved no matter where you were. So you can go and you can read about the Dred Scott decision
Yeah.
and how horrible it sent chills through every single Black person, no matter where you were, that your opportunities for freedom, even if you were in the North where you were free, that it was now really essentially gone. It was just a terrible, terrible thing. So,
Yeah,
so
I
you
like
sort of
how you're putting that analogy there, because when you think about that decision in 1857, you had Black enslaved, former enslaved people living in free states. It's kind of the same analogy. I like how you're kind of looking at this, and that was like a 11-year fight or something around that. How
So
long it
so it
took?
took yes, it took almost 11 years for that to be overturned,
Yeah,
with the
oh,
next 2 amendments. Yeah, I think it was the
it's
13th,
11
14th,
years or
14th, 15th
something.
amendment
Right.
for it to be overturned. This is why let me just say why this is so important. I want you to hear what I'm saying here, and I want everybody to hear what I'm saying here because I think this is important. So, when you think about slavery and what it was, it basically said that Black people at that point were no more than a mule or an animal, whatever you want to take, because all you did was work. You worked your fingers to the bone. You worked until you died. You had no freedom, no rights. You basically could be killed by your master
Right.
and nothing came of it because you were not considered a person. You were nothing. I want you to sit with that for a minute. Now, just think about this. You are in a country that has been devastated by earthquakes and other kinds of trauma. It's war torn. You are murdered. It is a terrible place right now because of the destruction that has been heaped upon it. When you go back there, there is nothing for you. perhaps but death, especially if you're in Syria as well, or any of the other countries, if we're sending people to the Congo. So if you just sort of take those two and put it together, what are you saying about Haitians who go back to Haiti or any other place that we send them? We are saying that your life means nothing in
Yeah.
this country. It means nothing. That this administration considers you to be worth nothing. That you can go back and your life can be tapped away and they don't care
Oh,
at all. And so when I think about the Supreme Court
right,
making this decision, you can talk about it in any kind of legal language you
right.
want to. Your result, the consequence of that decision is the same.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that thread line, and when you could talk to people about the Dred Scott, people sort of could understand that to agree. And when you just said that, how it kind of went through me again, and putting myself in the place of some Haitian families. And I know in Ohio, where I'm from, that big Springfield uh, area was a really part of what Trump got, how he even got a damn elected, eating the cats and dogs bullshit that he started with, all that horrible things he did. And then Sam Alito, the justice, saying, well, it wasn't a racist thing that they did, this overturning the TPS for Syrians or Haitians. You're like, he wouldn't even read all this racist stuff Trump said in his decision, because if he knew, if he read it, it would be racist. So he didn't read it in the decision for this particular case. But going back what you're saying, it feels like this horrible vulnerability. Imagine 2010, there's an earthquake in Haiti. You come to this country, it gives you asylum, it gives you protection. You get this order, which TPS, this temporary protection, it's a really bad name because it means it's temporary, but it really, these people have been here 16 years. Some of these TPS things have been overturned. People have been here longer than that, right? So we've given them a home. They have mortgages, they have houses, they have life, they have jobs. They caretake our elder people. They give to our economy. They are really, to me, citizens. I don't care if it says TPS, whatever it says on their thing. And then this court, like Dred Scott, it's really very similar. Like you said, the feeling is that you're nobody. Now you're a human being inside of a country that is saying to you, you're not safe, you're not free. We could take your body and we could do what we want with it right now. Like, they don't have legal protection. That means they're not afforded any kind of whatever. I mean, that is a horrible feeling. I can't imagine what that could be like. And that's what the Supreme Court is saying. And Amy Coney Barrett has a Haitian adopted daughter. What the hell is that about? Like,
So there was a really interesting article about that, and
right.
the writer in the article said, that it gave her chills. Not that
Mhm.
she had the daughter, but the chills for what it actually meant, that she was the savior. And when she was confirmed, it talked about how she talked about all the children. And so some
Right.
of the children, they were going to be a lawyer one day, blah, 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 blah. But when she talked about their children that were the Haitian children, it was just like, oh, they're happy and joyful, as if that was really all there was to be. My point is, it
Yes.
doesn't change anything.
No, it
It
does.
doesn't change anything. It's the same thing as Caitlyn Jenner, who's transgender, who
Right.
wanted to get her passport or something. She goes to Trump and says, she sends a note to him directly about her passport or whatever this ID she's trying to get. He never responds. So folks say to her, well, Caitlyn, can't you see what this means for transgender people? And you know what she says? Well, I just love the guy. So there's an article that says,
Right.
there's just some people you can't help. So you can't help Amy Coney Barrett. She is who she is. These six justices are who they are. And what we have to think about it, this whole thing was just so disturbing to me.
It's disturbing.
And we talked about it. And, people will say, find the joy, control what you can control. I can't control anything that happens with temporary protective status. But what I can do is make sure that every single person hears what I have to say about it. And I want people to hear and understand and not get away. I want every white person, every black person, every person of color to feel a sense of accountability because you understand what is happening and you cannot run from that. So you must think about it. You must talk about it. You must tell people about it. And when someone tries to tell you that it is okay, it is not okay
No.
unless you are a horrible, horrible human being.
Yeah, I mean, because I think what we're getting set up for this decision and others, and this is what, when I think about, we talk about being slowly boiled, and we're obviously we're also a little al dente right now, maybe not completely boiled, but we're getting there, right? Is that these decisions are really setting up, when I look down at what this country could look like in 20 years, when I think about the walls that he's talked about building, and I'd always warn people, that wall is gonna keep you in, and it's going to stop your freedom in so many ways. When you think about what they're doing to Haitians, what they're doing to people that come to this country, it says justice is just for some people. Constitutional protections are just for some. And they're actually saying, in some ways, they're not really for anybody. Like the idea about due process and ICE. And I saw the other day the photos of this military that they built that's bigger than any military in the world. They talked about like how many people are in this ICE and Homeland Security. So we can see all the pieces. Here's this huge military force. Here's the court going along with taking away protection, giving this president immunity from anything, taking any accountability out. There's a piece over here. There's a piece over here. And when you put it together, it is hard to look at because you're like, it's happening. You can see all of them. The pieces are now coming together. And I know I'm not trying to be negative Nancy here, but it is like you said, um, I mean, the alarm bells are going, and we need to keep at this really hard, because we know that some judges have put a stay on this, but when you go up to the highest court and the highest court's in on this, what the hell do you do?
So let me say two things. First, hello, explicit. We haven't seen you
Oh,
in a while,
explicit
so we're
there.
really happy you're here.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted to say to Gilda, I am with you. I really was. I was just sick to my stomach when I heard that decision. And,
Mhm.
and I think, when I'm going to repeat what I just said in terms of, you feel like, what can I do? What can I
Right.
do? And that's what I was feeling. People like, oh, only control, you only can control what you can do. No, what we can control is who we talk to about this, and that we do not let a single person get away with telling us that it is okay. We do not let a single person get away with telling us what they're following the law. Then, and it's his prerogative. It is not. It is racist.
Right.
It is all based on race, because there's no way that you can tell me that while
Right.
you've in Afrikaners and you're
That's
going to
right.
tell me that they are, being persecuted, and you're giving them welcome bags when they come in with iPads. And not only that, you say, why are we having all these people from shithole countries? But
Right.
yeah, why aren't they coming from Sweden? Well, maybe they have maybe things are better in Sweden, and they don't want to come here. But my point
Right.
is someone is suffering, as people who are here from
Right.
Haiti and from Syria, who are suffering. That is what we do.
That's
And
right.
it's not like they're here illegally, and it's not like they're not
Exactly.
carrying their weight, that they're not being people in society who are working and earning and buying and doing all the things that we do. But we're going to say, because, as he says here, they're filthy and they bring disease. What kind of person talks like that?
Mm,
And what kind of people in a country are okay with that?
yeah.
And
Bad.
so it just tells you about the history of the country, but it's not everybody. But
No,
if
of
you're
course.
if you're
Right.
quiet and you're silent and you think it's okay, then you are guilty and you're culpable. And what we must do, all of us who are here, is
Mm,
never ever let that be okay. That is what we have the power to do. That is what we can do. And that is how we feel, make ourselves know that we're not powerless, because we have a voice to speak out on this stuff.
No, I know, 'cause I was heartened to see the people of Springfield, Ohio, after this decision. A lot of people have come out, and you roll back a couple weeks ago, you remember the people from Afghanistan lost their status too. And you see people being deported back to these countries. So they're like,
The
oh, well,
Congo, the
yeah, right.
Congo.
So they're going to send these folks not back to Haiti. Maybe they're going to send them to the Congo now. The point is, like you're saying, going back to Dred Scott, is that the concept that they have in their mind of human beings, how you look upon somebody as, like you said, a mule or an animal. It is the Nazi thinking. It is white supremacy at it is fascist thinking. It's racist. It's all the bad things there are, and we have to call it like it is. And like I said to you, Sam Alito avoided reading Trump's statements because he ruled, "Oh, there's no race here." Well, he didn't say any of this shit because he knew if he said it, he would sound like a racist. I said that before, but it would almost be funny to make him say it. Because you're like, okay. But yeah, it is so disturbing.
See, so Catherine, before you go, this is one thing that I would say again, and this is where our power is.
Yes.
Um, our power is shedding light. It is bringing
Interesting.
hope.
Yes.
Everybody has a lane and a role to play. We talk about Black Virginia News. Lauren is here, and
Oh, yeah. Of course.
they tell the truth. They talk about what no one else is talking about. And our goal has to be to help more people understand the injustice that's going on and how the injustice impacts them. And so we keep talking about, the big bad bill or the big
Mhm.
beautiful bill. I call it the big beautiful bill because I want to call it what you said it is so that people can see how ridiculous that sounds. So the
Right.
point is this: you're pulling trillions of dollars out of Medicare and Medicaid. And you're pulling it out, and there are all these 77 million people who voted for Trump because he's going to make everything right. While at the same time that these 77 million people voted for him, he's taking $1 trillion out from your Medicaid and your Medicare,
Right.
which can look like 300 hospitals in rural communities. It can look like 500 nursing homes across this country. And the
Right.
question you'll have to ask yourself when SNAP benefits are going away, when you're getting less and you can't feed yourself, you'll have to ask yourself if that vote that you thought for mass deportation was really worth it. What is this thing that you are standing behind this Republican man who is basically a monster, and all of the Republicans who side with him every single day who don't give a flying flip about you?
Right.
What is enough? What is enough? And so our opportunity is to talk to people and help them understand what that is. We talked about this before in the sense that says this, and this is what Martin Luther King said: you don't have to like me. You don't have to love me. You don't have to invite me to anything. But what I do want is laws that require you to treat me equally in all
Right.
things. And I think that's what I want to say to these people, this 77 million. You don't have to like Haitians, but you don't have to invite them to dinner either. You don't
Right.
have to like Black people, and you don't have to invite me to dinner either. But when I am applying for a job and my qualifications are better than yours, then I want the law to make sure that it's protected, to make sure that I get what I'm due. The same with housing, the same with whatever it is, that you treat me equally. And that is all of us, whether you're transgender, whether you are a part of the
Right.
LGBT community, it doesn't much matter. We have laws that
Yes.
should be put in place that says you don't have to like me, but the laws are here to protect all of us. And that is what we have to start standing up for, to make sure that people understand what is happening here. Because most people, if you went out in the street today and you said to 10 people, tell
What's
me what
yes.
TPS, how
They
many of
it was toilet paper holder, toilet pepper paper. They would, seriously. Um, you're right. They don't understand and they get caught up in the words of temporary and there's explicit. Yes, they're out of touch. You are so right. Alpha's here.
Hi Alpha, we're
Yeah,
talking
good intentions do not protect you from decades of being out of touch with whole swaths of American society. Well, one thing that I learned from Kazem Rashid, if you follow him on Substack. He came to one of our summits back in, I think it was 2022. And it was really schooled me on stuff because I think that we're told as students of this country when you're growing up young, like it's the greatest country on earth, and all these things people repeat. Well, we do all this bad stuff, but we're the greatest country on earth, kind of thing, right? But he always he said to me, and it kind of lit my head up. He said all these bad decisions came from the highest court, Dred Scott, and he went on through all these decisions that held up the 3/5 law, all that held up these really bad things. And obviously we had this liberal light that came through the 60s and when the court changed, and we see now this going back. And when you look in 1857 and how long it took, they talked about how that Dred Scott decision set up the Civil War. I mean, it makes me think about now, like, where are we going with this when you have the justice system compromised, you have the military, then we've interviewed military people on our show. How great was Nancy LaCour and Bree Fram, these military 30 years? fired in one day, take your uniform off, fired another guy. So we're not safe. They're firing military, building up a war machine against us. We can't be dumb. We can't think. We have to, well, this is what they're doing, right? And the court's allowing it, immunity from it. So it's a huge setup we didn't have so many years ago. But in his second term, he's been able to take all the levels of power. So it's in the people's hands at this point where we do have to be as loud as we can and stand up. And that's why the 26th is the biggest thing we can do. If we can get that focus on that, and we really can make sure we win, and we win big, and we get people out because they're angry. We have to get people riled up and get them out. Okay. That's the first step. I feel like I'll take a little bit of like, okay, I worry, but that's where we need to go with all this energy. We have to win the midterms. We just have to.
Well,
Or I'm
so
going to
yes,
move in with you. I don't
you're
know
gonna
if it's
move with me.
a good
So
roommate.
so so here's what I think, and I would love to hear anybody put in here what you think we should be
Yeah.
really focused on. Oh
Yeah.
Lord.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, but they
So this is
I
what
don't
Lauren
know.
has said: for Congress to vote for 1.2 billion for Iran military ops and 3.3 for military aid to. Oh my God. Okay, that's just going to be really terrible. Yeah,
I think
for
they're
Iran.
tucking that.
Okay.
I think, Lauren, I feel like they were tucking some of that money into these bills to hide, like especially with the Israel money, they were trying to like wrap that up and have this kind of this a disturbing kind of relationship they wanted between the two militaries. But yeah, I mean, when do we run out of money? I mean,
We only run out of money when it comes to childcare and healthcare.
that's true.
That's when we don't have any money. So we can't afford to do universal healthcare. We can't afford to do any of those things. We don't have enough money for that. But apparently, we do have enough money to do mass deportation things and have an ICE that's bigger than some countries in terms of
Right,
military
in the
power. So
military,
I mean,
right.
so we just have money for certain things. But here's what I want to say, because I think we have
Right,
to
because
always
I had
figure
something
out
I'm gonna say
how
too.
to end on a positive note,
Oh,
I think.
okay. I had
So
something bad to say. You wanna
yeah, well, no more bad. So here's what we have to do. Um, First of all, we all have to start thinking differently, and I do think we have to figure out what our power is. Like, my family teases me and says, "Oh, you can't save the world. You know, what do you do this stuff every day? You can't save everyone." And I can't. I
Mhm.
mean, I would be Superwoman if I could do that, or some kind of something, but you can't do that. But you can do what you can do. And that is why I think
Yeah,
when we do the summit and we have Michelle Hornish who will do, small things that create big movements, there are things we can do. We are not creative enough, we don't think big enough, and we don't
yeah.
think enough about what is possible. We don't think about the possibilities. And I do think that it is time for us to start thinking about the possibilities. Everybody says to
True.
us over and over and over again, no one is coming to save us. No one is coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. And so we have to figure out what that looks like.
Okay,
And
right.
and part of it is for these kinds of conversations. We're not going to be able to do anything with Congress at this moment. But what we can do is fight as hard as we can to ensure that we win the Congress in November of 2026, November 3rd, 2026. That should
Yeah,
be every single person's North Star. There shouldn't be anything bigger than figuring out what you need to do to get people out to vote. That means if there are people who have had their rights taken away and need to be restored, how do you do that? If it means working with your local nonpartisan, NAACP, League of Women Voters, whoever the organization is, because it has to be issues driven with the ways that people can feel it and understand it.
right.
So no one can stay home November 3rd. If you're afraid, it's making sure that you get your ballot and you go vote early. If you
Yes.
get a mail ballot, go drop it somewhere. Don't put it
Drop
in the
it
mail.
at the yeah,
Take it somewhere. And so it really is thinking about
right.
all of these kinds of things. It is about understanding how we do things unexpected. What can we do that people wouldn't expect us to do? We have got to figure this out. Wilhelmina's teasing me and calling me a
I
unicorn. And
saw it, I
yes,
saw it.
and, that's what unicorns do. You figure out how to think creatively inside the box and outside of it. We must think differently. And if our leaders aren't going to do it, then it's up to us. There is power in the pen, is power in a postcard, is power in a nugget, is power in a podcast, is power in your voice. And if every single one of us figure out how to do that, and if we just start to think in unlimiting ways,
Yes.
then we can figure out how to do this. But the first step is to win November 3rd, 2026. And don't think that we can't win the Senate. Figure out what thing you can do to help make that happen.
Yeah, well, explicit has a last thought here, and I'll say explicit. We need to unpack that more. We need more time, but I'll just give you my takeaway. And he asked, "What are your thoughts on the Democratic Socialist win?" A couple thoughts on it. One, I think Republicans want to make a super big deal about it because they want to label us as Marxists. That's what they love to call it. So there's a strategy they have there, and Democrats, centrists aren't helping the matter too because how they position themselves. And I was even talking to sort of an established Democrat. We had the big Democratic Party thing this past weekend in Virginia, so we kind of plugged in and out down there. But some people that are sort of established Dems are calling them far left too. I think it's kind of bizarre. Truthfully, for me, I think the trend is Democrats, like Fennell said, have to deliver, have to talk about the issues, have to actually why they're winning and why people like them. Mondami is because he talked about what people cared about, and they cared about trash. They cared about potholes, like Danica Rome in Virginia. Hey, isn't that a funny thing, Democrats, that they cared about childcare and then he made it happen? They made raised taxes on rich people and things that people responded to. Why that's a Democratic Socialist thing and it's not a Democratic Party thing? And in Virginia, when we vote against union rights and we kind of look like we're voting for more like billionaires on some of these things we did a really thousand of really great things. We need to look like we need to be listen to the people and you listen to the people and you actually message around it. That's my thought is that we shouldn't be oppositional. We should embrace and talk about what Democrats do. And that's a winning thing. And we're doing this kind of division thing is kind of dumb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really dumb. First
Do
of
you
all, I
agree?
think
What do you think?
I agree, but I frankly think that you're a Democrat, and I don't really
Yeah, I
care.
don't know why we like. I
At the
know.
end of the day, stuff that makes common sense is what you should be talking about and what you should be doing for the people. And
Right.
I think a progressive, a left, a liberal, I don't really care much about any of it as much as I care about, to your point, listen to what people are asking you for. And when you get in Congress, you do what the people have asked us to do. If that is universal health care, then you figure out how to get that done. If it's child care for every child, then you figure out how to get
Right.
that
How
done.
to get it
If
done.
it's making sure people pay their fair share in taxes, then you get that done. I mean, they're talking about democratic socialists while they take over TV and media and tell you what you can watch and tell you what books
Yeah.
you can read. So I think that we should not fall into this thing of letting Republicans brand who we are. That is
Exactly.
ridiculous. So we should make sure that we are saying who we are and what we care about, and we should be damn sure to be branding who they are, which basically is monsters.
Why? Okay, so they're on the ticket. Just one more thing. How do they get to be Democratic Socialists to be Democrats in our party? And maybe they just in the coalition with us, but they're like Bernie. What do you call it? Caucuses with us, but he's a Democratic Socialist. It'd be like if those MAGA Republicans had a sect of them, the crazy ones, and it would be, what do you want to be like a Republican fascist or something? How come they don't get a label? I don't get it. Like,
I- I-
why
you-
do they, why aren't they like why are they called like Republican idiots or what? I'm just saying I don't understand that. But I'll say explicit. Um, yeah, the Republicans are the radical party. Well, we'll wrap up. I'm so glad we're back, and so glad I got to see you this weekend. Richmond folk, we had a good time, and we didn't get to dish. I had some dish to give tonight and some gossip, but we'll wait for that. Maybe next week a little bit. I saw the Speaker of the House at the caucus party and talked to him a little bit. Um, it was really a lot of interesting going on down there with the party. It's interesting to see everybody. The rural caucus was amazing. They had a really big after party. Saw a lot of people that are going to be running for office, a lot of young people. When you talk about what gives you happiness, are these younger folks running for office? They have such brilliant ideas. It just gives me hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. So it was a rough weekend from the Supreme Court perspective, I would say.
Good
Um,
weekend for us.
yeah, but there were some good things that happened that
Yes.
we didn't talk about. But at the end
A
of the
lot.
day, I do hope that you guys do have a sense of optimism because that's what I feel. And so every single
Yep.
day for whatever thing I do, it is about November 3rd. It is about figuring out what thing can I do today. If
Right.
it's just one little thing, what's the one little thing you can do that brings you happiness and joy, but also moves the ball forward to November 3rd?
Yeah. And like Lauren said, there's more coming from SCOTUS. I think 3 big rulings. And so I'll just tell people, keep an eye out for those 3, because this is what Lauren, I think it's going to be, the redemption 3. And I'll show you that who taught me about redemption was my boy, Johnny Cash, my friend Johnny Cash here, because they're going to try to make these 3 decisions seem like the court isn't as crazy as it is or as racist as it is. And I think they're saving them for last to do all this bad stuff. And then on these 3 last decisions, they're going to look like they're putting some pressure on Trump. Don't fall for it, everybody. The Supreme Court is an issue. Keep your joy, but be clear-eyed, because you have to face what it is, the reality of it. I always say you can't be like Pollyannish, but you have to just make sure that you get in community, find a good friend, get a good bourbon with you or good Coca-Cola and some fried fish, and you're happy. You got Coca-Cola. It was
There you
great
go.
seeing you, and like I
It's
said,
great seeing you too.
we'll dish some more, because a lot going on down in Richmond. It was a lot of fun. I'm sorry I didn't see Lauren down there. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning
Good
in.
night, everybody. Thanks for
Right.
tuning
It was
in.
so good to see you. Love your friend. Bye.